For silent invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Ford.
Present.
Councilmember Tremont. Councilmember Steltner. Vice Mayor Bastian.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here, we do have a quorum. Councilman Tremont is en route. Councilman Stiltner is on vacation.
Yeah, it's in Destin.
As everybody knows, there is that little hurricane Isaias floating around out there, and because we are in the cone of uncertainty, albeit not on the dangerous side of the storm, the way things look now, and I got to qualify all my statements because heaven knows hurricanes seem to have minds of their own sometime. We are taking preparations just in case. I'd certainly like to call this a live drill, and I hope that's all it ends up being, but if it's not, we will be ready. With that, the first thing I want to do before we go over the steps of what's going on is Resolution 2030 is a resolution of the City Council of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, declaring a state of local emergency, authorizing the city manager to exercise emergency management powers, ratifying all actions taken in preparation for Hurricane Isaias, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve Resolution 20-30.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Items open on the floor for discussion, along with Alan. Why don't you go ahead and give us the rundown of the prep and what's going on in the city right now?
Sure. So to give council and everybody out there an update, both the county and the city, both the county and the state have declared a state of emergency for Volusia and other counties along the East Coast. So if we took the same action, that would be following in line with the others as well. Mm-hmm. And I believe it is in our best interest to do so. Basically, the current weather pattern, and as you mentioned, Mayor, it changes every 5 minutes we look at it. It changes, but as of now, we're expecting some, weather to start deteriorating Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, and then to have sustained tropical storm force winds starting between 7 and 9 a.m. on Sunday and lasting somewhere between 8 and 12 hours. Obviously, we want everybody to be safe, and during that time, be cautious and make sure and try to stay inside, limit your movement so you don't get hit by anything flying around out there. As far as preparations, as you know, we've already started putting out sand for distribution, and as of earlier today, I think we've given out about 1,700 sandbags. We have enough sand to continue doing that. We will continue to do that tomorrow, but those locations right now are the Karasi Sports Complex on the west side of the city, and also the adult annex on Ridgewood, and those will be open till 7:30 this evening. They'll open again tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. and close until either conditions deteriorate too much to be out there or 7:30 p.m. or until supplies run out. But we should have enough on hand to continue doing that.
Alan, if the storm does strengthen, change course, whatever it is that causes demand for sandbags to increase, are we prepared to open other locations if necessary?
We are. We have a plan to have 5 locations, and right now we only have 2 open. So we can expand that pretty much in an hour or two's notice.
You love it when I ask questions I already know the answer to, right?
Yes, sir.
And I think that is important to note for everybody listening, because what we're trying to do is prepare for the storm, but we are in a pandemic, and we don't want people crashing one side all at once if they can help it. And it's important that we be able to maintain the social distancing. Heck, our sheriff has even gotten it. So keep him in your prayers. He's not hospitalized or anything, but he's certainly not feeling well. We want him to feel better.
Yes, sir.
But we need to be cognizant of preparing for a storm in a pandemic, which is part of another we talked about when we've done our Facebook Lives, is when you get your sandbags, hold on to them. We're still early in hurricane season. Don't spread them out on empty them out and spread them out on your lawn just yet. The last thing you want to do is have to go through all that again and then and part of that also is to avoid crowding at these sites if all possible. So if you need these sandbags, come and get them. That's why we got the preparation. We have had a lot of rain this past week, so the ground is wet, saturated. Things are not draining the same way they normally would in drier conditions. So if you are in a position where you need to plan because you're in low-lying areas or you're prone to flooding, absolutely, come see us. Go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
You took the words out of my mouth, so thank you for putting that out there. So we are thinking right now, we are going to, staff has decided to activate the Emergency Operations Center as of between 6 and 6:30 Sunday morning. It's a little bit earlier than we normally start that A shift, but it'll give people time to get in while conditions should be still favorable. Obviously, I'll be watching the weather if that changes.
We got to keep our people safe.
Exactly. I will let staff know. We hope, it looks right now it's a fast moving storm. We hope that hopefully we will only have to have an A shift, meaning a 12-hour shift. And then hopefully things will be getting back to normal. Obviously, we still have road crews for public works, public utilities, that sort of thing. The police out there making sure that they need to block off places that maybe have a little standing water. Obviously, FPL is being mobilized too to make sure that they can get power back on or take down power lines and get them back up. But hopefully we won't have that one shift. If it turns out that it's going to be a little bit longer, we will have a B shift into the night to watch over and make sure everything's progressing okay. I do want to remind people that we do have ordinance in place. So it's 2020-8. Basically what that was is something the city implemented to make sure that people don't put out debris right now. Most of the people's normal day for, let's say, yard waste is Wednesday. Obviously, we don't have a scheduled pickup at this time. We don't want people to be putting out debris into their road that then could end up being projectiles, break other people's property, and also end up in the storm drain, which is there to help protect you and your neighbors. So please make sure and don't put that out right now. We will have code enforcement going out to remind people if they see piles out there to get somebody to come up and pick that up before the storm. But if they do leave that out there and it does become an issue, the city does have the ability to charge them for pickup if we need to pick it up beforehand. And also there's a fine with that as well. Did I get that right, Matt? Okay, good. I got a thumbs up.
So let me confirm on this. Obviously, it's the wrong thing to do to put it out now, but at the end of the day, if somebody does, nothing we can do other than we can go pick it up and then bill them later on. Because we don't, if it's out there, we have to deal with it anyway.
Yeah, that's correct. I don't want to encourage people to do that because we don't have enough staff to go out and do that.
No, I don't want to encourage anyone. I want to deal with the ones that actually do put it out there. We can't just leave it for it to become projectiles. So
we're not going to ignore it, but the thing is that if everybody did it, we don't have the resources.
Right.
Well, we will encourage them to make their own arrangements to get it picked up. If it's not too much stuff and they can store it in their garage till after the storm, they'd be encouraged to do that as well. So, for the fire department, just kind of run down a couple of departments, just highlight a couple of things that we've got in the situation report. Both fire and the police department have the ability to do a full staff up and A and B shifts if they need to. Right now, we're thinking that it's not going to be that bad and that they should be able to handle the situation with regular staffing. They both have staff on notice. If for some reason it becomes an issue, those staff can be called back in, and we can mandatory those people to come back in and deal with the situation if it gets bad. For finance, the call center, usually if it's a big storm, we open up a call center and we have call takers. I've been in constant contact with community service, customer service, and with the folks over in the city clerk's office. Call volume is pretty low. They've had 8 to 10 calls, mostly about sandbags. That's pretty much it. The county has that information for us. They've actually put that out as well. And so at this point, I will keep in touch with them, but I don't foresee there being a lot of call volume. I don't want to have to pay a bunch of people to sit around and not do anything. So for now, we were going to, at the end of the day today, we're going to have the city phones have the information where people can get information. So it'll have the CIC, which is the Citizen Information Center at the county, and I can give that now as well, which is 866-345-0345. Again, that's 866-345-0345. That's activated from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they are going to be answering those phones today, probably through Monday, but definitely through Sunday. And of course, we've mentioned this on Facebook Live, but if people see things right here that they need attention, obviously if it's an emergency, call 911. We always say that, right? If you see something in the roadway that may be blocking a storm drain, or if there's flooding, something that related to Public Works, there is a non-emergency after hours, a number for that they can get in touch with us. That is 386-248-1777. It's 386-248-1777. So they can call those numbers to get information. Again, if call volume increases, we do have staff on hand that we can bring in and open up that call center if it gets really busy. So, it's interesting. This is kind of a little bit, we hope, a dry run for a very interesting situation, a hurricane response during COVID-19. If you learn about emergency response, one of the things, the first thing you learn is the emergency responders need to be safe, because if they're not safe, then they can't help respond and help the citizens. So in that vein, we have created a new plan where we will all not be on top of each other in one location. We are able, with current technology, to spread out in different city buildings that are rated for this kind of storm and be able to continue to communicate. We also have backup communications. If for some reason the internet goes out, even though we have redundancies, we all have our cell phones, and they're also portable radios. So we will be spreading out, and IT will be in those different locations helping us just in case things go awry. PD. So same thing with fire and PD. PD has also been aware. They think they can mobilize in current shift. If they need to, they can staff up. They have secured the electric signboards that we have out there and stored those so that they don't blow around. And as you know, of course, with these things, sometimes you have bridge closures. Generally, we close the bridge at about 45 miles an hour, and that's important for people on the barrier islands to know. The chief is actually on a conference call right now with the county to talk about that. The higher end of the sustained winds we think is going to be around 45, so it's really going to be a close call, but we are in close contact with all those other authorities and Ponce Inlet and Daytona Beach Shores to make sure that they know if we are going to close. Obviously, there may be some exceptions, but even with high-profile vehicles like fire trucks, you don't want them going over the bridge after a certain period. On Thursday and Friday, community development notified construction going on in subdivisions, and those sites have been secured so that equipment doesn't blow around and also get in the storm drain. They are also the people that do the damage assessment after the storm, so they're going to be around to make sure there's no issues and be able to report to the county after the storm is over. They have PSAs kind of ready to go to remind people, and it's good at any time of year because I know we've gotten these calls and you've contacted me about them, where people start doing some construction work. They want to do it on the cheap. They find Joe the plumber, and they pay the person the money, and the person disappears. So obviously, in any situation, make sure you have a licensed plumber that has a business license and can do the work, so that hopefully they don't just, we see a lot of during the hurricanes.
Licensed plumber, licensed
Roofer.
repairs, licensed garage door repair person. Absolutely.
Yeah, this time of year we see a lot of that. People coming in from out of state, taking money and leaving or not doing a good job because they don't know the Florida building code. So just please be aware of that.
And add licensed tree service to that.
Tree service,
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So Public Works utilities, that's always a big one for these things. It looks like the rain amount, Mayor, as you mentioned at the beginning, looks like we could get 2 to 4 inches. That's more of the,
As of now.
Yeah, and for those of you that were driving around 5 p.m. on Monday, we probably got that in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, we got like almost 3 inches in
Yeah.
30 minutes or something.
Not to say it wasn't scary. I was out in it and didn't want to be, but stormwater level, even with all that rain, the ground is saturated, but the stormwater levels are at acceptable levels. We have pump station ready to go. We have generators and pumps on hand ready to go, especially if the lights go out at the intersections. Crews are ready to clear road debris if needed. We have been in touch with our debris removal company just in case. We don't think we're going to need them, but obviously we want to make sure we've got communication with them if, just in case. And we've had this conversation over years. Do you pre-stage? Do you not pre-stage? Basically, you do not pre-stage, because then you're on the hook and you likely will not get reimbursed even if FEMA declares an emergency. But those companies pre-stage right outside of generally where the storm is, so their response time generally isn't that bad, and especially with something like this where it shouldn't be across the whole state. I mentioned about the sandbags today and tomorrow between 7:30 and 7:30 until supplies last. And of course, the crews were already out clearing storm drains, and getting things ready to make sure that we have that conveyance ready to go. Good information too from Parks and Recreation. They're the ones that help us, help everyone else. They've gotten those areas ready where we're going to be working the storm so that we are comfortable. And programs will continue today and Saturday, weather permitting, but we are canceling all programs for Sunday. Most likely to be reopened on Monday. We think that everything should be pretty much back to normal weather-wise by then, unless for some reason there's some damage at some of the parks that we need to clean up. Staff has spent the day securing shade structures and removing fence banners and securing items in parks that could become projectiles. Summer camp operations should resume on Monday. Splash Pad will close Saturday night. So for any of those people who don't feel like there's enough rain coming from the top, we'll close the rain coming from the bottom Saturday night. And we will also close down bathrooms in parks Saturday night just to secure that and reopen maybe after the storm. That is the majority of update I have for you. If you have any questions for me or staff.
Quick follow-up question to what you just mentioned, and it's completely off topic, but it reminded me. You said summer camp is, we'll pause for a little bit. And I know that was a big discussion as far as whether or not we were going to allow that. I'm curious, how's it going? Has there been any sort of outbreak at all in that? That you're aware of? You don't have to answer that now. I can get that later.
I'm seeing no. I think I probably would have heard of it, but Susan not here. I haven't heard that there has been. It seems everything's been going
That's
okay.
Fine. No, I don't need a response now, but
Yeah.
I wanted to ask while it was on my mind as you mentioned that.
Note the knowledgeable person sitting behind Alan has given us a thumbs up.
Only because my kids go there. That's the only why I know.
Okay, what other questions?
The pumping down of the retention ponds, I mean, that's an
Always.
elementary thing for you guys, I know, but I gotta ask it, and make sure it's on the brain of everybody.
It's
From
funny.
before.
I've spoken to our public works director probably about 7 times over the last 2 days, and every time I ask her the same question. I said, "Look, I know you asked her last time, but the levels in the ponds." She said, "The levels in the
That
ponds."
was actually a concern
Yes.
before we even knew about ESIS with the rain we've had.
Right. She said, for this time of year, the levels in the ponds are where they need to be. There shouldn't be any issue with stormwater conveyance, and if they do need that additional push, they do have the pumps ready to go to get more water out. But they said at this level, at this time, they're where they need to be at the levels to be able to take another 2 to 4 inches of rain.
Our stormwater conveyance also intersect with a lot of the private ponds in private communities. How is our accountability levels with those people to make sure they're pumping theirs down as well?
That question I'm gonna have to get back to you on.
I'm not aware of any private communities that pump their ponds down.
My HOA's pond is quite full right now.
I don't. If they're private ponds, I don't even know if they have the ability to pump down. I don't know if they have pumps.
Yeah, they don't have a pump, but, and then where are you gonna put the water?
Yeah.
You pump it into the storm drain, it goes right back into the ponds. There's nowhere to put the water.
Yeah. I mean, there are, as you have alluded to, there are community associations here that have their own stormwater systems.
Yeah.
And
I'm talking about the ones that that intersect with ours.
if they intersect with ours and flow into ours, then it shouldn't be an issue because they would flow into ours, increase or decrease our levels, and we're keeping ours at levels that should be where they need to be.
But and that makes sense. I wonder, we have a particular time frame in which we do ours. If they do theirs at the last minute, and all of a sudden that throws our numbers off and our measurements off at the last minute, we're not
Yeah.
prepared for that. I just wanted to see how we're addressing that.
Yeah, I got an email from the public works director, and she said that she is not aware of any private areas that pump ponds.
Fair
So
enough.
Other questions? What, anyone here from the public here to speak to the item? There being none, Resolution 20-30, final comments? Call the roll.
Councilmember Ford,
Yes.
Councilmember Draymond,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bastian,
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 4-0, the emergency order is now in effect. I am really seriously hoping that this is just a nice little wind and rain event. We get through Sunday and we're back to normal on Monday. I hope it's a dry run for everybody because there are 2 more disturbances out there in the central and eastern Atlantic. Dry run as far as preparation. We don't want to see those come near us either, but all the same, this is a little bit different in the age of COVID. So certainly our own personal plans, if you're able to, in a serious storm, shelter in place, you should plan to do it. But in this case, I think it's important to know that the bigger effect outside of those who would need to seek shelter for a storm is on how our cities and county are responding, because we've had to do a lot to modify our responses in the age of COVID to keep people safe. So I think this fortunately and hopefully remains nothing more than just a dry run for us in case we have something more serious later on. Knock on wood, pray to God that is not the case, but all the same, Alan, if there's anything that you need from us, all 4 of us are at your are available and willing to help get messages out any way we can.
Absolutely, I appreciate that, and just also, of course, want to thank staff for being prepared and getting prepared and keeping me up to date so I can keep you up to date. If it wasn't for the hardworking men and women of the fire, police, HR, public works, public utilities, you name it.
Don't you ever forget Public Works.
City attorney. He's just okay. There he goes.
I see him down there. I can see him down there.
Yeah, it's a team effort, and I really appreciate all their hard work as well.
Very good. Anything else come before us? Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you all next week.